Good afternoon and welcome to Joy with Rev B. I'm Reverend Barbara Schreiner Trudell, and I'm delighted that you've decided to join me today on this broadcast. I just want to begin by doing the thing that I usually do, which is a land acknowledgement. And I acknowledge that the land I am meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. I also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. And I'm grateful to be able to live, work, and play here. I seek to always uncover the truth and to ensure the Indigenous ways of knowing, being, and doing continue. So today I honor all Indigenous peoples, Métis, across Turtle Island, because we really are one. Well, the Joy Show reflects the power of living authentically. And at CSL on the Lake, where I am the spiritual leader, we teach the power of our thinking to create a beautiful life. That living authentically, it allows us to really experience God's grace. And the result is joy. When we start living from that authentic personal self, we begin to create really great and remarkable things. Now, my personal belief is that there's one power, call it God or spirit, universe. The name's irrelevant. And it's something that actually we can't really fathom from our finite human existence, but we try. So it's important that we just understand that there is something going on that's greater than I am, greater than we are individually, but collectively, it is a remarkable power that all of us have the ability to use and to share in, and so on and so forth. So we want to acknowledge that, and also that this power that is within us, everyone has it, right? And all we need to do is turn within. So that's the big one, is how do we do that? So regardless of what you're searching for, love, joy, peace, money, career, everything has to begin from within, going without. And what we teach at Center for Spiritual Living is that your thinking creates your life. So what is it that you're thinking about? What is it that matters to you most? What things trip you up and what charges you up? So we're going to talk a little bit about some of those things today, because my guest couldn't make it today. So we'll be meeting with T-Jazz in a show down the road a little ways when he returns from his vacation. So we begin today by acknowledging the importance of who I am and what it is that I bring to this life experience, and to acknowledge that I am created in the image and of the likeness of God. You are created in the image and of the likeness of God. And so what we want to do is come to a place where we can acknowledge who we are and begin to love that. One of my members of my church had commented one time a while ago that after me, I love you most. And I thought, wow, what a great statement. The importance of self-love is not really taught everywhere. I don't think I learned that in school. Definitely didn't learn it in my home life, but have come to learn it over these many, many years as I've grown older. And what I've come to understand is the way I think about me, the stories I hold in my mind about me, the way I, talk about myself, the way I accept the gifts and blessings in the world or shun them. All of this speaks to my own level of self love. And of course, if I don't love me, then I certainly don't have any love to give out into the world, right? It's like I've got to have it in order to share it. I got to have it in order to express it. So, really important that we get that. So, this journey of living authentically is really quite simple, but maybe one of the hardest things we'll ever do, because most of us have our fears or our doubts or our worries about ourselves. We've been conditioned to believe that somehow we're not valuable or precious. But I'm here to remind you that you are, that regardless of what you may have done in your past, regardless of where you lived, how you were raised, regardless of the language you speak or the food you choose to eat, regardless of anything, you are a divine expression of this infinite one. That means you are perfect, whole, and complete, that you are unique and special like every other person on the planet. This is the really good news, is there isn't one special person. There's infinite numbers of special people. And so we really want to acknowledge that and to live from that place of seeing ourselves as valuable and worthy, seeing ourselves as important and essential. Really, really important that we do that. If I can't see me as valuable, then what am I putting out into the world, and why would anybody else find value in what I think, say, or do? So really important that we discover that for ourselves. What I love about the science of mind is that it is a philosophy, but it's also a faith. It's a way of life. It's believing in something bigger than what I am personally, and acknowledging that what I bring to the universe at this point in time is essential to the unfolding of it. It's really important that I stand in who I am so that I can share my gifts and talents. And my hope is that by modeling this type of behavior, that others will begin to see the value of it and do it as well, because we're all fully capable of being what we've been created to be. And so remembering that we are unrepeatable, remembering that we are divine and perfect, remembering that there's something about me that is essential to the unfolding of the universe at this time. It is in all of these little things that I begin to create a life that is really remarkable. It's not by accident. So I want you to think a little bit about some of the words that you use. I know for me, I remember years ago talking about, oh, life is so hard. And it was. I got to be right all the time. Life was hard for me. I don't think it was hard for every other person on the planet. Many of them probably, but not everybody. But it was hard for me. And the more I said that and the more I held to that, the more I got to be right. And there came a point in my life when I made a decision. Would I rather be right, or would I rather be happy? It was a little bit of a toss up there, because I'll tell you something, there is a desire sometimes to be right. Am I right? We want to be right. Well, the truth is we're right probably a whole lot more than we expect, because we're telling ourselves stories, we're hinting at things about ourselves, we're calling ourselves names and things like this, and then we're wondering why that is sort of pooling around and repeating back to us, why the world is showing us exactly what it is that we have come to believe about ourselves. So really important that we begin to shift that. Recently, I was reading Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. And what I love about this book is her main focus is about self-love. That as we come to understand who we are, as we begin to remove those masks that we've been wearing that cover our true, authentic self, we begin to heal. We let go of the past, and we're in a place in the moment where we can begin to create a powerful, positive, and productive experience, one that really honors who we truly are. And that's the journey that we are striving to accomplish. And when we live authentically, that's when we begin to experience life in a whole new way. There's a greater sense of joy that comes from that. Now, joy to me is an acronym, just one you, just one you. So if there is just one you, then probably you are not by mistake or accident. There's something about that specialness of you that is important right now as we begin to evolve our planet. And when we take a look at the things that are going on in the world, and remember that they're done just by people just like us, what we soon start to realize is that my thinking, my being, my attitude in the world, all of it is creating within this consciousness of oneness. right? There is only one thing going on, one power in the universe. We're all in it, we're some part of it. So if that's the case, what am I thinking about? What is it that I'm putting into that collective consciousness? Am I lifting it or am I pulling it down? And that just depends on what it is that I'm thinking about moment by moment. If I'm thinking the world is awful and terrible, filled with brutal, awful, terrible people, then my experience is going to match that. There will be difficulty that will find its way to me because that's my focus, right? What you focus on is what you're going to expand. What you focus on is what you're creating in the world around you. So if you want something different, you must do something different. So I remember years ago getting called into the boss's office. Never liked that happening. Called into the boss's office. I worked for a newspaper at the time. And he called me in to basically tell me, this is your annual review. And if you don't, straighten up and fly right, you're going to be out the door in short order. And I realized then and there that I had to do something different because the thought of getting fired was not very exciting to me. So I sat back and thought, what can I do? And I started doing, personal development because really I was a miserable, miserable person. So I started doing personal development, and then that led me to spiritual development. And with all of this stuff, eventually I found my way to CSL. And what's remarkable is that as I began to change, and it wasn't easy, it was about walking around a building where with 1,000 employees and saying hi to strangers and smiling at people that I don't know, or making amends to people that I'd been kind of nasty with before, and doing all of these things in order for me to show up in a brand new way. But here's the thing. A year later, when my boss called me in for my annual review, he had a whole new story. He's just shaking his head, going, I've heard about people doing what it is that you've done, but he said, I never believed it was possible. And you've proven me wrong. Right? He's looking at me going, I don't know how you did this, but wow, thank you. It's been a great year. So, what happens is when we decide, so I had set an intention. That intention was to keep my job. I didn't want to be fired. So I set that intention. And then from there, I began to move, right? Take steps in the direction of what it is that I say. So my intention was to change my attitude. Instead of being a capital B, whatever, I began to live more from a place of accepting myself for who I am and learning how to like me and to like others. It's really hard to like other people when you don't like yourself, right? You automatically expect them to be kind of as naughty as you. But the truth is that as we begin to lower the masks, as we begin to live authentically, what happens is we start to change the landscape around us. And that really does lift us into a very remarkable place. And it does it very quickly. This does not take a long time. When we have changed our mind and begin acting in a loving, compassionate way to ourselves and to others, what happens is the world around us begins to change to match that new vibration. The vibration of possibility and love and joy is way higher than the idea of everything's broken and flawed and terrible, right? So we want to begin to continuously take a look at, what am I doing, how am I doing it, where am I headed, and what is the ultimate result that I want. For me, I kind of wanted people to like me, but more importantly, I wanted to keep my job. That started me on this path. Now, where I've ended up is way beyond anything I could have ever imagined. I didn't ever imagine that I would become a minister. Hey, I didn't even attend church way back then, let alone become a minister of one. So this journey is all about finding that voice within us, that part of us that is exciting and remarkable, that we really want to swim in. We want to be there and experience it fully. And so we're taught all kinds of things as we're growing up, right? We're taught to not expect too much out of life, and then you won't be as disappointed. We've been taught to, put in time until retirement. We've been taught that life is hard, and then it just gets worse. We've been taught that somehow we're idiots, or we're not bright enough, or we don't deserve, or who do we think we are? And so all of these things are kind of ingrained in us from very, very early years. And at that young age, we've bought into it and accepted that, oh, well, it must be so because mom said it, dad said it, teacher said it, siblings said it, aunt, uncle, grandparent. Somebody said something to us. We interpreted it from our youth and accepted it as the truth. But what if? What if what people were saying to you was merely what they were resisting within themselves? What if what they were projecting onto you was their own fears, their own struggles, their own pain? What if it had nothing to do with you? And I'm here to say it really didn't. I look back, I'm a mother of four. And so, I've had my children, I've raised my children. My youngest is 17, my eldest is 49. So, I've got them at every age and stage here. But what I know is that each one of them came into this life experience unique. Now, me as a parent, because, parents make mistakes, I was trying to, with the first three anyway, was trying to get them to behave in a way that would make me look good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What can I say? I'm a mom who wanted my kids to behave appropriately, and so that if they're really good and behave really well, then that makes me look good, right? Parents do this. I don't know why we do it, but we do. And what I learned through all of that with the first three is like that's not what I'm here for. That's not my job as a mother. My job was to create a container that would allow my children to find their own authentic voice, their own authentic self, and live from there. Live from that place. That was what I was meant to do. Huh. So I learned that kind of late, but not too late for the youngest. The ideas and the ways that we limit ourselves are largely due to the messages that we've received throughout our life experience. So if we could begin to change those messages, if we could begin to look in the mirror. I love mirror work, and it's one of the things that Louise Hay talks about a lot is look in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you. I love you. I really love you. A minister from California, does her morning commercial. I'm a champion. I'm the best. I'm the best. Playing Rocky music or whatever, right? Just getting into that energy of yes, I can, and that's what we want to do. Is get into the story of yes, the story of yes, I can. Yes, I'm enough. Yes, whatever is needed, necessary, man, I'm in. When we can come to that place of acknowledging our own brilliance, what we do is we begin to unearth this immense power. And we all have it. So imagine for a moment that you're going to a job interview. And before going into that interview, you tell yourself, you know what? I am the right person at the right time in the right places, doing all the right things. And if this is the right job for me, man, I nailed it. And I'm going to interview them to see if this is what I really want, just as they're interviewing me to see if I'm what they're looking for. It really needs to be a two-way street. And it is with everything that we do. If we can lower the masks and just show up, right? Why not? The alternative is that I'm pretending to be something. But what if instead of pretending to be something, I just allow myself to be myself, to show up authentically and honestly, to show up as this divine being of love and light? What if I just allowed myself to shine wherever I was without holding back, without, resisting, without pretending, without putting on airs or even, self deprecation? I mean, that happens, right? What if we gave up all of that and we just showed up? This part of ourselves that we think is so bad and wrong that we want to hide from everyone else, that part of ourselves is just something somebody else has said is inappropriate. So maybe for them it is, but maybe for us it isn't. And I think the minute we can accept our whole self, right? It's like that yin yang symbol where the two pieces make the whole. If we can do that, if we can allow that which we love about ourselves and that which we dislike about ourselves, if we could bring those two things together and recognize that together the two create the whole of me, then what happens is I can shine the brightest, the brightest that I could ever be. But I must acknowledge all of me. I can't leave part of me behind. I can't pretend I'm something I'm not. I can't wear, a mask that goes, "Oh, what a nice sweet person," and then turn around and do something mean to someone. Like it's like there has to be something that acknowledges my uniqueness, my special flavor of being human, whatever that might be, and allow it to fully express. That's what we're here to do. What I find interesting with my children is that they are immensely talented, which is so awesome. But three of my children sing, two of them play musical instruments. All two of them are visual artists. One's a photographer, the other one does handmade leather crafts and wood carvings, and they're done with like a chainsaw. It's kind of cool. So all of these things that my children do. And then my other son is a fitness trainer and is so committed and dedicated to his workouts and training people and helping people to be the healthiest and best they can be. And I look at these four children and I think, I'm not sure exactly how they got there, but I'm really glad they found their place, their way. And what I love about it is that each one of them is so remarkable in the area in which they excel. And I love that because somehow, even beyond me trying to make them into something, they found their way. They found their way. And I think that's the very best thing any one of us could hope for our kids, is that they find their natural voice, they find their rhythm for being and living, and they're allowed to just shine in whatever capacity is right for them. And I think that is one of the most important things. And if we can learn to accept ourselves and love ourselves, if we can begin to believe in who we are and what we bring, if we can accept that there's something of great value that I do, that only I can do in the way that I do it, then I begin to see the value of sharing that with the world, sharing that with everyone around me. If I can show up as love, then what happens is love gets experienced. And that's the very important thing that's going on in the world right now. The more that we could love, the better off we would all be. Imagine for a moment that there was no killings and there was no wars and there was no thefts from each. What if we just all showed up and began to acknowledge the talents of each other and the journey of each other? Really interesting things to think about for sure. And I want to share with you, we're going to go on a little commercial break here, but when we return, I want to share with you a little bit of what that path could look like, from my own personal journey. So we'll be back in just a minute. This is the Joy Show with Rev B. Just one you. Live that and look at what happens. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back to the Joy Show with Rev B, and we are here on the New Thought Media Network, which is a great place to be, I can assure you. Well, we're talking today about living an authentic life and the value of that, the importance of that, and that as each one of us begins to fully embrace who we are, we begin to excel in all the things that we do. So for me, the journey has been, well, it's been hard. Let's just put it that way. For the majority of my life, I did things the hardest possible way. I made numerous mistakes, repeated them often, and lived a life that was, well, quite a challenge to say the least. But the journey brought me here to where I am today. So I'm, married to my husband now for 20 years, and we have quite a lovely life together. And I'm really, really grateful for that life. But I'm grateful for the journey that brought me to it. As my husband would say, fifth time is the charm, because this is my fifth husband. Um, but you know what? It's like sometimes the mistakes that we make help us to clarify and heal what it is that we really want to have in our lives or experience in our lives. And I know for me that the journey that I've been on has been about finding love. And so it wasn't that I didn't know how to keep a marriage or to find the right guy. It was a case of, oh, you love me? Okay, great. Let's just tie that down so you can't get away. Like that. Kind of a funny way of doing things, I guess. But anyway, it's what got me here. This journey, what I found for myself anyway, is I was doing things as hard as possible, trying to get to a certain place. And if we can begin to acknowledge the people around us and acknowledge that maybe they're doing the best they can with what it is they know at this time, that maybe we would be able to be a little more forgiving. And forgiveness begins with ourselves, of course, like all things, right? If there's no love here, I can't really share it. So I got to love me. I've got to forgive me. So my journey was definitely a colorful one. I had, the joy of five husbands. Most people get through life with one or two. But, I was seeking love, man. I was seeking love, trying to find it. Little did I know it was right here that once I turned to it, began to nurture my own self acceptance, my self love, as I began to acknowledge my own gifts and talents and began to celebrate that. What happened was life got easier, but also I met Pierre. It's like that journey to the one sometimes takes a bumpy road, and mine definitely did a very bumpy road. Two of my husbands were very violent to me, mentally, physically, emotionally. And, one of them wasn't really available, and another one decided to pick on my kids. So, whatever it was abuse all the way around. The interesting thing is that when I left marriage number three, what I knew in that moment is I would never be struck by someone again. I was really clear that I'm not having that in my life. And what I did was I acknowledged that although I'm not responsible for his behavior, I did in fact put myself in the room. I did in fact stay longer than I should have. When the red flags were flying, I should have walked, and I did not. I waited. So, although I'm not responsible For all the things in the way they happened, I am responsible for allowing it to be part of my experience. And so, what I mean by that is that at any point in time, I could leave. I could make the choice to leave. And I didn't choose that for quite a long time. Now, once we make the choice, yeah, it's difficult, right? If you're a woman with small children, it's like, how do I support them? What do I do? But the thing is that there's always a way, and there's always people who will assist us when we take that step. So, really important that we do that, that we begin to acknowledge I can create a better life. And I know I can create a better life because I have within me this infinite power. It's fully present, and it will move me, guide me, direct me in whatever direction I need to go in order to fulfill this grand vision I have for my life, or the possibility of creating harmony and love and peace. It all takes time. It does take a shift in thinking. So for me, the shift was, they're all against me. They all hate me. Everybody's trying to hurt me. Everybody's out to get me, victim mode, right? Into changing my mind. A friend of mine once said, there are no victims, there's only volunteers. And I thought, what if I'm volunteering for this? What if at some level, this is what I believe my life is supposed to be? What if I interrupt that thought process? What if instead I turn around and go, wait a minute, I'm valuable, I'm lovable, I'm smart. What if I take my power back? What if I forgive the past? What if I forgive myself for all the mistakes I've made? What if I just forgive and then move on? So the past is back here. The past does not exist, right? It can only exist as an idea in mind, but it doesn't exist in reality. It's done. Can't change it, can't alter it, it's over. What needs to happen is I need to leave it back there and begin to move this way. But at the same time, I cannot sit back and decide my future has to be this, 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 and this, right? What I want to do is in the now moment, because the future also does not exist, right? But this now moment does. And in this now moment, my thinking is creating whatever's going to be. What am I thinking about right now? Am I thinking about possibility and opportunity? Am I thinking about love and celebration? Am I thinking about how remarkable I am, that I'm a child of God, that I am here to share something that will make the world a better place to live? What if that is the truth? And I begin to live from there. What if from that place I begin to move forward? So these were the changes that I was going through. I was going through changes that caused me to reframe how I see me, to see me as, a person with talents and gifts, to see me as somebody who was exceptional rather than mediocre. And you see, when we're living from somebody else's idea of us, all we could ever do is mediocrity. There could be nothing more than that. The moment that we begin to see our true worth and value, in the moment that we really celebrate our authentic self, in the moment that we really step into that, that's the moment when we begin to make our entire world a better place. Because again, we're thinking in and out of it, of this divine power. And if I begin to acknowledge it for what it really is, and then I begin to create something that is absolutely brilliant, and something that honors all that I am and all that you are. That's where we're at. That's what we're striving for, is to create a life that matches what it is we know about ourselves. And that happens by not settling. When we settle for less than what we really want, we get less than we settled for. Okay, I don't know who coined that phrase. It was not me. But the minute I heard it, I thought, wow, all of my life I had spent settling for, settling for, over and over and over, settling for. And all that managed to happen from that is I got beat up and pushed around and knocked down, but it was in the moment that I stopped settling for, stopped sort of submitting to less than what I really wanted. In the moment that I stopped accepting everybody else's version of what they think I should be or could be, when I let all of that go and instead sat back and went, all right, now what? Now what? What is it that I'm going to do here in this life experience? What is it that I can share, or what is it that I want to speak about? And the interesting thing is that I found my place. I found my joy by simply being the person I was created to be by the Creator. Right? I mean, it's kind of makes sense, right? If you're created a certain way, there must be a reason for that. And if we acknowledge that reason and allow it to really be revealed moment by moment, what happens is we get so much more than we settled for in the first place, right? Just being you, just allowing your voice, just loving yourself enough that you have the energy and strength to love others. Very, very powerful thing. One of the things that Louise Hay talked about in her book as kind of a predominant thing is that I'm not good enough. And I think that's true for many of the people that I've worked with over the years. I've been a minister now for 23 years, and it's in that time I've met a lot of people who are still coming from that I'm not enough place. And I think for me, there was a desire to kind of dim my light a bit because I believed I was too much, that, I was too loud, I was too talkative, I was too noisy, everything was about too, right? I was too this or too that. And, it's interesting as we begin to shift that, where we recognize that my being too loud is perfect for a speaker on a stage. Too loud works there. I'm too talkative. Well, probably in my line of work, that's not a bad thing either. So sometimes we just have to find out what our too much or not enough is and begin to look at it for what it really speaks to. We start to find our own voice and rhythm. We start to find that authentic part of ourselves that's ready to be revealed. Now my throat's saying, enough of that, stop talking. All right. So the important, excuse me. Dear. Well, it's time for me to stop talking. A lot of the challenges that we live with come from our regrets, unwillingness to forgive. And forgiveness is such an important subject. Forgiveness is about letting go of the past, ultimately. But there seems to be a part of us that believes that forgiveness is saying that whatever they did is okay. That's not it. Not at all. Forgiveness is really, truly about letting go of the past. It's about releasing all of that the old stuff, the old stories. It's letting go of whatever's holding us back or holding us in. And on that note, we're going to take a little commercial break so I can have a drink of water and get my voice back. We'll be right back. You're watching The Joy Show with Rev B.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience? Or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Well, glad to be back. I think I have my voice back. And I just want to talk a little bit more about self love and the value, importance, and the essential nature of it, because I think sometimes we've played it down a little bit. Self love is not about putting myself above anyone else. Self love is acknowledging that I am a child of God, that I have been created perfect, whole, and complete, that there is an aspect of me that is essential to the unfolding of humanity at this time. So, really, really important that I do that. It means that I am powerful. It means that I am creative and imaginative. It means that I am intelligent. All of this creates a human being that is filled with potential and possibility. When we acknowledge ourselves in that way and begin to live from that understanding, it never would occur to us to exert power or force over someone else, because we would see that as a false use of the power. Right? The power within me is a power that lifts, expands, and grows. It's a power that acknowledges all life as valuable. It begins to see how everything works together. The energy of love means to unite, it means oneness. I know when we talk about love, often we're talking about an emotion. This is not that. We are talking about the unifying power of the universe, which is love. And that energy unites, draws together. It is an energy of expansion and growth, one that is allowing for each person to find their rhythm, their path, their way. It's about each one discovering their gifts and their talents and then living from that place. As we move forward day by day, each one of us brings something to the table that no one else can bring. Your little something that you have, I don't have it, right? And so I can look at all sorts of people and go, oh, I wish I had that, or I wish I was like this person, wish I looked like that person. But all I'm saying into the universe when I do that is I'm not enough. That's the piece that needs to change. As we begin to acknowledge our true identity, as we begin to love and accept ourselves for who we are, as we begin to live within this space of there's one power and I live, move, and have my being in it, as I begin to acknowledge that, I start to see how truly powerful I am. But not only just me, everyone. Everyone has access to this power. Everyone has access. to this. It's not some people. It's not, you know, if you're born in North America, you have it, but if you were born in Europe, you don't. No, no. Everyone has access to this. There's an invisible power that lives within each and every one of us, and we are using it. But if we're using it unconsciously, we might be creating things that we would rather not create, not even aware that it is our own thinking producing those results. But in Science Mind, we teach that what you think about, you bring about. Where you focus your attention, that's what grows and expands. So as we're moving forward, part of my journey has been to teach tools or techniques that will allow people to live their best life. And part of that is spiritual mind treatment. Another part of that is forgiveness work, gratitude work, spiritual mind treatment, creating these wonderful affirmative statements that allow for, you know, growth and expansion, that sort of lift us up and enliven us to be the best thing we can be. That information has always been there, and it's just about tapping into it and allowing it to express. So it starts with our own inner journey. Whatever it is that I seek in life, whatever it is I'm looking for out there, the only place I'm actually going to find it is in here. And once I've tapped into that self-love, that self-acceptance, that journey, what happens is then out here begins to match. We've all heard of the law of attraction. The law of attraction is exact. I will draw into my life or draw myself toward what it is that I believe I am. What I believe I am. So I can be affirming, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm loved, but if deep down I'm going, oh man, that's a crock, that will be my experience, that it's a crock. I'm not going to have those things in my life because I don't actually believe them. I'm saying affirmations, but I'm not buying it. And when we're doing spiritual mind treatment, which is, well, some people would call it affirmative prayer. When we are doing that, what we're doing is we're speaking about life in the manner in which we would like to receive it. So if I'm talking about, I am love, I am wealth, I am health, what I'm doing is I'm making a demand on the universe that this is my reality. However, what's important is not just to say those words, but to begin to acknowledge how I would feel emotionally if I had that experience. So if I believe that by winning $1 million, I'm going to experience freedom and joy and love and peace, well, what I'm going to be treating about is freedom and peace and love and joy, right? That's what I'm going to treat about. I am going to talk about wealth and well-being, but this is where I'm going to go because those emotions, I can have them right now. And if I have those emotions, if I'm living in that place of excitement and delight and love and joy and peace, what happens is that's very attractive. And what it attracts to it is everything that energetically matches it. Okay. So if I'm living in joy, more will be added. If I'm living in gratitude, more will be added. As I'm living in a place of self-love, more love is drawn to me. If I believe that I am wealthy and that all that I have need of is always looked after, all that I have need of is always looked after. But it's not about speaking this word of, I am wealth, I am health. No, no, no. It goes deeper than that. I have to go deep within myself. I have to own that. I have to really delve into that inner part of me to say, yes, and if I had that, then what? If I had that great self-love, what would that feel like? What would it be like when I walk into a party or I walk into, a big setting where I'm going to speak to thousands of people? How do I feel walking into that? Do I feel small and little and scared? Probably I'm not going to get received in the way that I want. But if I'm confident and poised, if I know who I am and I share that, what happens is the world shows up. Everything energetically matches that new idea, that new vision. Everyone is created unique and special. Everyone is, in fact, perfect, whole, and complete. In the moment that we stop competing with each other, in the moment that we stop comparing ourselves to someone else, when we begin to collaborate and cooperate, I love these C words. Cooperate, collaborate, commiserate. Oh, no, not that one. What we want to do is, as we are doing all of this, as we are connecting with each other in an authentic way, we make space for them to be who they are. And I allow myself to have the space for who I am. I don't need to pretend to be something for you to love me, right? Because you won't anyway. I am unrepeatable. You are unrepeatable. So, as such, you already are all that you need to be. And it is learning to be that, to share that, to allow that, that creates a really important way of living in the world. And then happiness is like it just bubbles out, it just happens. There's nothing mystical or magical about it. It is the result of self love, it is the result of shining, being what you were created to be. That brings us joy. There's just one you, there's just one me. When I can live from that place of, wow, there's just one me, holy moly, let me just live from that. What happens is my world gets easier. It's not magic, it's just being and being present now, right? Remember, the past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist, now does. So in this now moment, who am I? What am I? What am I willing to do? What am I willing to give into the world? What am I willing to share about myself and my life? And am I willing to walk a path of discovery, of awakening and expanding? Am I willing to be what God created? Can I live in that place? Or would I like to continue the struggle and strife of living hard? It's like, do I want to be right, or do I want to be happy? There's a point of surrender that's required that allows us to take a breath and to relax into this place. Not some place I'm going to go to, but the place where I am. And when I settle into where I am, I now have the ability and the strength to begin to move from here into something brilliant. I create my life not from wishing and dreaming. I create my life through conscious, consistent participation in it as me, not as anybody else, but as me. So, in closing, I just want to say I will have a guest next week. My guest is Nancy Miranda, who is an artist and quite a remarkable, remarkable woman with a very interesting story. And I just want you to know that how you were created is right. It's right. Even if you've got a whole bunch of letters, ADHD, and if you're on the autism spectrum, or if you have dyslexia, or any number of things, one leg shorter than the other, or you've put on a couple pounds, you are in fact perfect, whole, and complete. You are enough. In fact, you're very precious and special and beautiful. And in the moment that you accept that, the world around you will begin to match that energy. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you're interested in the center, of course, the Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake meets every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, everyone is welcome to attend. We are here on the New Thought Media Network, so you can get to us through YouTube or Facebook. And you're all invited to attend. And of course, next Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, I'll be back here with the Joy Show. So thank you so much for participating. I love you. God bless you. Namaste.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.